discuss about hospital costing. So as the name suggests, we know that it is related with the costing aspects which are connected with the hospital's setting. Or maybe we are looking into the type of expenses that can be incurred by a hospital and how do we account for from the cost perspective. Because we need to understand the cost factor if we really have to find out the profit and the other operational efficiency features. Okay, so today we would be discussing about hospital costing. Now, as an introduction, as I said, it is a method that is used for ascertaining the cost of providing medical services to patients by a hospital. Now, it can be equally applicable to a small clinic as well as a big maybe as I say, no, multinational hospital, which has lots of room and lots of departments. The concept remains same, which is applicable to both these categories. Now, when we look into the hospital expenses, we can find that mainly it incurs in any of the following categories, maybe as outpatient departments. Outpatient departments, nothing but you will have a lot of patients visiting the specialized doctors, and any expenses connected with that will be brought under outpatient department. Then wards, that is inpatient, patients who are getting their medical services by staying in the hospital itself. So that is another category. Then we have specialized medical services department like pathology, laboratory services, X-ray departments, scanning departments. Likewise, different departments are there. So those are specialized medical service departments. We can, there can be a dietitian and similar services which are as part of the hospital service. That is also one another area of cost accumulation. Then we have many general service departments like canteen facility, laundry facility, other facilities, additional facilities that are being provided to the mostly to the inpatients. Then the next category can be miscellaneous services, mainly conveyance facilities or cleaning facilities. All these can be brought under miscellaneous services. So when we look from the perspective of a hospital, the expenses can be broadly categorized into one, primarily that is related with the medical treatment. That again can be connected with the inpatient as well as outpatients. Inpatients are those who are staying in the hospital and getting medical treatment, whereas outpatients, they do not have or they do not avail the facility of being in the hospital, staying in the hospital and getting medical facility. They are just coming as consulting certain specialized doctors and getting the medical treatment. And of course, other than that, there are many other services like specialized services like lab test or undergoing different laboratory tests, or maybe scanning, X-ray. All these will be part of, normally it can be part of both inpatients or outpatients as suggested by the concerned doctors, and other services which are mainly for maintaining or for facilitating a better medical service to the patients. Mostly it is to the inpatients, those who are staying in hospital, maybe in ward or in rooms, right? So this is the context in which we would be discussing about hospital expenses. And now cost units, which you are very sure you have also told me the same thing yesterday. The main difference which we can identify between the previous one which we learned, that is transportation costing, and the hospital costing is with respect to cost units. In case of hospital, it will be cost per outpatient or cost per inpatient or per bed, or normally it is like that, per bed in a hospital, or maybe in some cases per specialized treatment. Say suppose if you are going for some kind of cosmetic treatment, they might say, okay, if this is the case, you will have to incur this much of cost. Likewise, no, there are different treatments for skin, or as you say, beautification, all that they will quote a price for particular aspect. Or if not, if you are going with a lab test, they will say that, okay, if you want to test all these, if you have to go with your routine blood checkup, if you want to go with a check of your cholesterol level, all that they will prescribe a fees for that. So it can be based on that particular test. So these are the basic cost units which we can find when we are going for accounting or recording of costs associated with hospitals. Now the next part is, this is actually the pro forma of the cost sheet for a month, or maybe for a year, or maybe for a week, depending upon the type of information given to us. There is only one difference, the difference with respect to expenses, since we are dealing with hospital. We are discussing this in the context of medical expenses. So the concept remains same. Fixed standing cost is whether you operate or not, these are expenses that are that will be incurred to you in a general case, for the working of an hospital. And running, operational or variable costs are those costs that are associated with the operational activity, which is connected with running of the medical services in a hospital. So that's why it will depend upon number of patients which you are having to treat, or maybe number of departments which you have, where you have specialized services of doctors, or it also will depend upon the kind of test facilities you have in your hospital. As you have n number of, or as you increase the number of test facilities, maybe your operational expenses also will increase. Accordingly, your profit also would be increasing. Now the difference between the total expenses, total operating expenses, and the total revenue earned, or the total income of the hospital, will give you whether they have gone with an profit or loss. The total incoming money will be considered with the expenses. The difference between that will tell you whether you made a profit or a loss. That's one aspect which we have to find out when we prepare the hospital costing. The second aspect is cost per patient or per bed. Per patient means it will be the numerator will be the total cost, the denominator will be per number of patients who have come to your hospital on maybe if it is monthly, then in that particular month. If it is annually, in that case, in that particular year, likewise. And if it is per bed, then you would be looking into number of beds available in your office, in your hospital, and how far that has been occupied. Say, for example, if you say that 20% of the beds in the hospital were occupied during the month of Jan, and if the total beds available is, as you say, 100, then 20% would be 20. So the denominator will fall as 20. Total cost divided by 20 will give us the per bed cost. Right? Likewise, we have to find out the per unit cost also, which will help us to have better control of the hospital expenses. So to conclude, today we were discussing about the hospital costing, or recording of costing that will happen in the context of a hospital setup. So as we said, these expenses can be connected with inpatient expenses or outpatient expenses, or it can be expenses connected with different tests, lab tests, or other types of facilities that are available in the hospital. And along with that, there can be other expenses, other miscellaneous expenses that are helpful in providing a better facility to the patients who are approaching your hospital. So that's how we account for the expenses connected with hospitals. And the cost unit, normally the easiest, the simplest is per patient or per bed, if we are talking about inpatient or outpatient, because outpatient mostly it will be applicable only with respect to per patient, and inpatient there can be a chance of counting it as per bed cost. Right? So these are the things which we have to remember when we go for the hospital costing. Right? Now I will share with you an exercise. You can take down this question and we are going to do it together. Okay? Can you please take down the question?